So we have done about land usage. So now you know what land usage refers to. Why do we need to study land use pattern and how the land use pattern is changing with time. Now this is a video regarding this, that how land usage pattern is changing and what are the effects of it.
Land is one of our most vital resources. We build our homes, roads, parks, and industry on it. It is habitat for thousands of species and is a critical part of our ecosystem. And of course, we need land for agriculture. But how much land is actually available for us to sustainably grow the food we need? The vast majority of the Earth's surface, over 70%, is water. This means that only 30% of the Earth's surface is land.
So as it is, we just have 30% of land on the Earth's surface. You people know it very well that 70% of the Earth's surface is already water, right? So already we have a very less amount of land available.
Only a small portion of the land, 10%, is ideal for growing crops.
So out of that 30%, only 10% is suitable for doing agriculture, for growing crops. Out of that 30%, only 10% is suitable for agriculture.
With technology, innovation, and best management practices, farmers can grow food on nearly 40% of the land. For example, on land that is too wet for many crops, we can grow crops like rice. On land that is too rocky to grow crops, we can raise livestock that can adjust to the landscape. If we're going to feed the world, we need to consider different ways to use the Earth's land to grow more food.
So it is said that we have to make use of this land very we have to be very thoughtful and clever. If it is a very wet land, then we need to grow crops like rice over there that need a lot of water. Like you have the marshy lands and all, so over there you can grow your paddy crops, right? So that they whatever requirement of water is that crop needs, it is suited according to that climate. They are able to derive it from the crop. The vegetation is able to derive that water from these marshy lands. If there is some rocky area that is not able to grow vegetation, only small grasses and all grow, then we can rear livestock over there. That is, we can rear our cattle and these goats and sheep over there, and we can practice livestock rearing in such a place. So we need to be judicious while using our land, that what usage should be done on a particular land.
For example, do we convert more land to farmland for agriculture, or do we use the land we currently have but increase productivity to increase crop yields? We have the power to influence how much land is used for things like agriculture, urban development, industry development, oil and gas, mining, and forestry. The choices we make with the land can bring both the social and economic benefits, ensuring sustainable development. But achieving a sustainable balance requires a great deal of thought. For example, if you want to increase your agricultural land, what are you willing to give up? Natural habitats, industries, homes, recreation? You could convert natural habitats, but there will be consequences.
So they're saying that if you need to increase the agricultural land, that is land where you are practicing agriculture, then obviously you're going to do it at some cost. You want to give up your housing colonies for agricultural land, or you want to give up your industrial lands to be converted into agricultural land, or you want to convert the natural environment, that is forest and all, to agricultural land. So the easiest way out that we find is that we usually take up the forest land. We cut down forest and convert it into agricultural land. Each time we are doing this. but that is having an impact on the environment. Every time we convert some area of a forest into agricultural land, it has certain impact on the environment.
For example, the Amazon is home to thousands of different and unique living things. And because of this, it plays an important role in helping regulate the Earth's atmosphere and ecosystem. Therefore, before you decide what you're going to change, it is important to understand how one choice about land use will impact another. To feed the world sustainably, we will need to increase food production on the same amount or on even less land than is currently available. It is estimated that a hectare of productive land, roughly the size of 2 soccer fields, is lost every 8 seconds.
So 1 hectare of land is being lost every 8 seconds, means we are losing this agricultural land either to developmental projects or due to desertification, or for some reason or the other, we are losing 1 hectare of land every second. And this area of land, you can imagine, that is your soccer field, like you watch sports. So 1 soccer field is of 1 hectare. So that area, you can imagine, it's such a big field. That amount of area is being lost every 8 seconds. And this is going on continuing, right? Because of our, not management, that is our poor management. We are not able to manage it in a good way.
Growing more food on the land that is already available to us is only possible through the use of best management practices. Let's take a look at how farmers are using best management practices to help ensure that they can grow food sustainably.
So now we need to do what? We need to grow our crops sustainably. That is, we do it in a way that our crops also grow and the land is also not getting affected, and we are able to increase the productivity on that available land itself instead of converting more and more land into agricultural lands, right? We need to increase productivity so that we are able to meet our needs in the available land itself.
Precise application of crop nutrients, making sure crops are watered at the best time of day, planting shelter belts or hedge trees, replenishing soil nutrients used by the plants during growth. Sometimes best management practices are more costly, but when they are used, they can have a positive impact on our environments, our crop yields, our economic growth, and our society. This helps us move towards our goal. And it's not just best practices on farmland that needs to be implemented. Urban best management practices are also important. Expanding cities upwards rather than outwards allows for more homes on less land.
So we need to focus that when we are developing the urban areas, then also we should do what? We should try to develop the cities upwards. That is, upwards would mean that we need to set up apartments where they are, multi-storied buildings, and then providing flats and apartments to various people, like it is happening nowadays. So in that case, what is going to happen? In a small area of land, more and more population will be able to stay, right? Instead of, building houses side by side and then occupying more and more area of land, we should build multi-storied buildings and provide flats and apartments to various families within a small area of land. What is going to happen? A large number of families will be able to live. And similarly, when we are practicing the best techniques in agriculture, what is going to happen? It is going to help us increase the crop yield, as well as it is going to help the environment replenish itself. But obviously, these practices are a bit costly, and our farmers, especially the small ones, are not able to afford it. So here comes the role of the government, that it should provide these facilities to the poor farmers so that the environment is also protected and the condition of the poor farmers also gets better.
Retaining wetlands within communities helps filter nutrients and runoff. In developed countries like Canada and the US, food is thrown out and overconsumed. In developing countries like Kenya, food is lost to unreliable storage and transportation. You may not think it, but hunger is often caused by food waste and inequality, and not scarcity. Land is the source of life, but it is limited. It cannot be replaced or constructed. We need to reduce food waste and grow more food on existing land using best management practices so that we can sustainably maximize the land's full potential.
So this is what it is all about, that we need to grow crops sustainably and more efficiently on the available land itself. And then once we increase that food productivity, we need to get a better management in its storage, in its transportation, its utilization also, because it does not end with just managing it properly at the production level, because food gets wasted while transportation, it gets wasted during storage, right? What happens that you store it and then the insects and the mice, they destroy the crops. Very often it happens. So we need to be very careful in managing our food also, right? So this is the situation. This, we have to think about it and find a way, find a solution for this, that we manage it in a way that it is utilized also. The productivity is also increased and it is utilized to the fullest. This was all about the chapter. Then you have these key terms, that is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are produced out of dead carbon based organic material, and they have, you know, been formed over a large period of time, a long time they take to form, that is millions and millions of years they take to form. They are deposited, compressed, and then fossilized. Then there is salination, so accumulation of sand in soil. It refers to salination. Then groundwater, the fresh water that is found beneath the earth in aquifers, wells, and springs, that is known as groundwater. Desertification, that is the degradation of the fertile land into a desert like condition, is known as desertification. Then soil erosion, removal of top layer of soil which is rich in humus, that is referred to as soil erosion. Then geothermal refers to the heat that is present in the inside the earth. All right, this is associated with water, like you have hot springs or geysers, coming, a break in the earth's surface and hot water coming out from it, that is being referred to over here. Then overgrazing is when the plants are exposed, like the cattle is left and they keep on grazing excessively, and the field doesn't get the time to replenish that vegetation, then it is referred to as overgrazing. And gas hole, what is gas hole? It is a combination of 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. So you need to learn all these key terms. They might be asked in your short type questions. So you need to learn all of these. All right. And then biofuels. What are biofuels? Fuels such as methane, which are produced from renewable resources such as plant biomass and treated municipal waste. These fuels are eco-friendly and therefore called as biofuels. Then go through these exercises. You can ask any question. I'm giving you time just to quickly go through the questions and see if you are not able to answer any of the questions. Resources you will get on page 18. Then types of natural resources you will get based on whether they are renewable or not. Again on page 18, renewable and non-renewable, along with the examples. Then two causes of resource depletion, page 19, you have factors that lead to depletion of resources. So you have a lot of factors given over there. I think 4 of them. So you can give any two. Then what is meant by salination? You have it in your key terms. Then soil erosion, again in your key terms, two causes you can give very well. You people know it. What is soil erosion? Then we should use fossil fuel judiciously, comment on the statement. So you can talk about it that, why you should use fossil fuel judiciously and how it is to be done, right? What it refers to judicious use of fossil fuel. Then what is overgrazing? What harm does it cause? Again, refer to key term and what harm it is causing. You can give it, explain it on your own. Then what is meant by poverty? Poverty, for poverty, you can come to page 22. All right, then any three reasons that can cause poverty? So you have lots of reasons listed. You have lots of reasons, but they are not listed. They are given in the paragraphs, right? You will have to find them on your own, right? Then defined land use, you have it on page 26. Then give two socio-economic effects. So you have it under the effects. Two of them are given, na? That socio-economic impact and environmental impact. So over here, only the socio-economic effect has been asked. So from that paragraph, you can find two of the effects. Then name two policies related to water in India. You come to page 29 under inaction on part of the government. You have some of the policies listed over there. You can pick up any two. So because this is short type, so you can write 3 to 4 lines and leave, right? While in some, like you have 3 reasons, so obviously you will not just write one word for a reason and leave. You are going to write 2 lines per reason at least, right? So you can think up on your own whether it can be a 2-mark question or it can be a 3 marks question, and you will answer accordingly. If you consider it to be a 2 marks question, like for example, what is meant by salination? Now this would most probably be a 2 marks question. So you can write 3 lines and leave, covering all the important details. While this question will be of obviously 3 marks, and so you need to give 3 points each of 2 lines. So I'll need at least 5 to 6 lines in this case. You can give it in the form of points, you can give it in the form of paragraphs, that is up to you. Now, how does overuse and irrational use of resources cause a depletion of natural resources? Explained with example. So how is overuse and irrational use depleting it? So you can come to page 19. The entire paragraph is given. You can make it, form your answer from there. Then how overpopulation leads to environmental degradation? Very easy. You can list a whole, complete essay you can write on this question. Then resource depletion causes imbalance in nature, justify the statement. So you have imbalance in nature on page 20, right? You can go through the points and form your answer. Then what are the consequences of resource depletion? Consequences, there are a lot of consequences, major and minor ones listed. You can pick up the 4 major ones and 1 of the minor ones, and you can form your answer. How you will write this answer? You will provide the heading and explain in 2 lines, then again provide another heading and explain in 2 lines, right? You can pick up the 4 major ones and 1 of the minor ones. Then any one of the minor ones. All right. Then explain the dynamics of urban and rural poverty. So you have this on page 23, dynamics of urban and rural poverty. You can form your answer from that. Then how is poverty linked to environmental degradation? Come to page 24. Please form the chart while writing this answer. What chart? This poverty, economic development, industrialization, natural resource depletion, and then environmental degradation, along with the arrows in the right direction. You will give the diagram and then you will explain it. No diagram, marks will be deducted. I'm telling you beforehand. All right, don't come crying later on. What are the causes of poverty in rural areas? You have it listed from page 23 to 24, right? Reasons for poverty in rural areas. Then how can we conserve natural resources? You have this on page 22, conservation of resources. You can pick up points from there. Sure, you are not marking the answers. Keep writing the page numbers so that you don't have a problem in searching them. Now your task will be just to form the answer. I'm showing it where it is given. You will just read the paragraph and form the answer on your own, right? What are the causes of changing land use pattern? So come under use there, this page 27. Few reasons for changing land use pattern. What are the effects? So just under that you have effects on page 27 itself. That is socioeconomic impact and environmental impact. You will give the heading and explain both the points. Now, because in this question there are only 2 points, so obviously you are going to explain these 2 points in detail. Do not just write 2 lines, as I said for the one of the question of this type, that you need to write 2 lines for each point. Now there were 5 points, right? It is a 5-mark question, so there were 5 points, so you explained each of the points in 2 lines. But over here, because only 2 points are given, so you're going to have to explain them in detail, right? Obviously socioeconomic impact is lesser, so that will contain 2 marks, and environmental impact is a larger portion, so that is going to carry 3 marks. So accordingly you can write 3 to 4 lines on socioeconomic, and then you can write 5 to 6 lines on environmental impact. Please go according to the distribution of the marks. Then what are the issues related to water in India? So you have it given on page 28. Coming to the workbook questions. What is, again, these are the same questions. You do what? You people just go through the questions and tell me if there is some different question given and you are not able to answer it. Because just the wording changes, the thing are almost the same.